So Harry Brooke has decided that he will not be partaking in this year's IPL, which potentially gets him a 2-year ban. He had to leave the tournament. Did he leave it early? Did he even get there last year? I can't remember.
He didn't get
Um,
there.
he didn't get there because that was because of a family bereavement. So obviously, sorry to hear that, but that means he has now missed 2 tournaments in a row. The kind of conversation in England is that he's decided to do this because he wants to take over the white ball captaincy. But Nick, I put it to you that if you want to be the best you can be as a white ball player and fulfill your potential, you want to be right in the thick of it for the IPL, right? Because that's where you're going to see new things. You're going to meet the best coaches in the world. You're going to play with the best data analysts in the world and some of the best players in the world. And that is the home of innovation, right? It's like a footballer deciding that he doesn't want to play in the Champions League because he wants to focus on winning the World Cup. For me, it's a bit of an odd decision, this.
Yeah, I 100% agree, Marky. I think you would have to say that for all Harry Brooks' talents, he hasn't cracked white ball cricket consistently yet. And as you say, you want your best players to be playing in the best competitions, and the IPL is without doubt that. It's the highest quality T20 cricket. There is the breeding ground for really good T20I cricketers. So it's a funny one. I was listening to the Wisdom podcast yesterday, and Yas Rana made the point that Harry Brooke has been on the wheel for pretty much 9 months straight without a break, which is fair enough. I do have some sympathy for that, but he knew that when he signed up for the IPL. And I think just because this England captaincy is opened up, I'm not sure I agree with the decision. It's kind of, I was thinking it's like if you've RSVP'd for a wedding and then you get like Champions League final tickets the day before. Do you just say like, oh, sack it off, I'm not going to go to that. So I think the 2-year ban is right, because I also think something that no one's really talking about is this, like, it's a massive hit for Delhi, right? They spent 6.25 crore on Brook, and now by default they're going to have to replace him with an overseas player who wasn't picked up at the auction, who no one bidded for. And I mean, there's some good players left on the pile. I think they might pick up someone like Brevis, or maybe a Mitch Owen, who's, hot property right now. But Brevis had a reserve price of 75 lakhs. And I mean, Delhi have spent a good chunk of their budget on Brook. And in doing so, they've sacrificed bench strength. So I was just like having a look at the buy prices. And if they had gone for someone like Brevis, they could have also picked up 2 more local batters, say Nehal Wadera for 4 and a bit crore, Rahane for 1.6 crore. And, so suddenly you've got a more rounded squad. I just think that players pulling out like this at the last minute, especially when they've been big buys, really handicaps teams. And that's why I think the 2-year ban is right. I think from an English cricket perspective, fine, Harry Brooke, if he's going to be the white ball captain, he's going to be playing 3 formats. He needs a break somewhere. But now he's not going to be playing in the IPL till he's 29. And I think that's less than ideal.
Yeah, and also, I think if I was Brendan McCullum or anyone at the ECB, I'd be trying to encourage him to go and play in this tournament, because, as you know, we know it's the best tournament in the world. It's not a debatable thing anymore. It's not even remotely up for debate. And I agree. I think the ban is correct, because if you're the IPL, the most important thing is to maintain the integrity of your tournament, right? And if you just cannot be having players do this. I mean, it shouldn't be done at all, but to do it 2 weeks out, it's actually kind of, it's not becoming off the kind of character you'd expect to captain the English cricket team. And I think it's it's a first moral victory for a franchise league in a very, very long time. I kind of, yeah, I don't know. I hope whoever manages to kind of take his slot manages to seize the moment of it all. And kind of make the most of it. It is a real shame, I think, for English cricket that he's not playing. Actually, I can't see the kind of positives around it. I mean, I know you said that he's been playing cricket for 9 months continuously, and I appreciate that there is people need a break, and there's mental health concerns, particularly around cricketers who do live out of a suitcase and do trek around the world. But also, ultimately, my job is to make content and to do all the other bits and pieces involved in my job. you have a similar job to me, Nick. We just work all year round, as does everyone else in the world. I think it's a pretty hard, and maybe I've just got a much more kind of South Asian or Asian attitude towards it, but I just think you've just got to accept that is your job. I think in a sport which has a calendar that is continuously evolving and changing and doesn't work to the benefit of the fans or the players, the one fixed thing in it every year at this moment in time is the IPL. So you know that's coming and you know when it is. Yeah, and my final point on this it would be is if I was Brendan McCullum, I'd say no. I think it's really important that you play this because I think that's where you can develop as a player, and also you can kind of make mistakes outside. If English cricket, if playing for England is your main thing, you could kind of go to the IPL and kind of make mistakes outside the spotlight of English cricket. If you go and get out in a ridiculous way in a white ball series against New Zealand this summer, or I can't remember who they're playing, then that's going to be written about in all the English press. If you do that against Lucknow Super Giants on a warm night in Delhi, then absolutely no one's going to talk about it in England. I know obviously we'll be talking about it because that's what the big bag is for, talking about franchise cricket. But it's a bit out of the spotlight. There's huge amounts of money involved in it, which it's important. I know you're going to be rich anyway, Harry Brooke, but I think you've made a slightly wrong decision. And for me, I just can't fathom why it was ever part of the conversation. I mean, the only other thing I could think of is maybe he just doesn't like being in that part of the world for that long, and that's fine. Like, it is what it is, right? If you get homesick, if you want to stay close to family, then, and if you think this is the 4 weeks where you can stay at home, or 6 weeks, however long the tournament is, then so be it. But yeah, I think there is no cricketing reason why you should do this.
No, totally agree. And I think everyone apart from the ECB would have preferred if he took the month off for the 100 instead of missing the IPL. I also think it just highlights how weird cricket is. Like, as you say, Marky, if Jude Bellingham pulled out of the Champions League on the eve of the tournament for Real, like, the whole world would be up in arms. And Harry Brooke does this on the eve of the IPL, and everyone's kind of just like, oh, good for him. He's going to be the next England captain.